Hopefully everybody's in the meeting now. We are going to go ahead and start our presentation. First of all, I want to congratulate you guys, and I'm really excited to work with you guys on this project. And get that out of the Job Training and Economic Development Grant. It's really exciting to see this back. I managed this grant years ago when we had a lot less money and a lot fewer grants. But it's really exciting that we have this opportunity now to bring this back. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get started on the presentation. First thing I want to do is introduce our staff. We have Rosa, she goes by Rosa, Monica, and Monica, I didn't take the LA out of this slide, I am so sorry. Just call her Monica, not LaMonica. And then myself, Tammy Stone. So I'm going to have Rosa and Monica just introduce themselves here real quick. Rosa, you want to go first?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Rosa Bacardi, and I'm the newest member here at the Office of Employment and Training, so I will be learning a lot along with you, and I'm just happy to be here, and good morning.
Monica? We can't hear you, Monica, if you're muted.
I know exactly which one
Oh, we can't hear you very well. Well, I'll let you know, Monica has been with us, oh golly, over 6 months now. She has been a tremendous help. I'm sure you've seen lots of emails from her. She's doing did a lot of the, the emails as far as the finalists and letting you know that you were awarded. Monica has been working with us, on the grants. So doing, reviewing your budgets and your program implementation plans. We had 44 grants that we're doing, so it's a pretty heavy load. And we're really glad that Rosa joined us. She's only been here for about like a week and a half. So it's kind of like going into a 5-alarm fire right now to get this all going and ready to go. Because we have to have these grants and we want to have them obligated before the end of the state fiscal year. So that's why this is such a push. And for those, well, I'm talking about that, we've sent quite a few grant agreements out to the field already, and we have gotten quite a few back signed, which is amazing. We really appreciate it. There's still a handful that we need to get out to you guys, to the agencies. So our intention is between today and tomorrow to get those out to you. And we need to have an extremely fast turnaround. We really need to have these in by the 10th. Now, those of you that end up getting it on Friday, we'll give you till Monday to get those back into us. But we need to have them through accounting and obligated, by the 15th, honestly, because we're going to get caught in the rollover in the state fiscal year. We do have a couple grants that have some issues, and we're going to be working with you guys on that to work through that. But our intention is to get everybody's back by the 10th that we possibly can. Those that, like I said, if we have some grants that go out to you for signature on Friday on the 10th, we'll give you to Monday to get those back in. But we need those in so that we can, make sure that we're going to get them processed before the end of the state fiscal year. Otherwise, you're going to get caught up in that, and it could be September before their obligations are, available. So just want to let you know that up front. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our presentation. Our agenda, and I'm going to be talking for an hour, and then we're going to have Natasha talk about our data system, and David talk about the landing page, our partner resource tools in Worknet. So we're going to go over this information relatively quick. And a lot of this will look familiar because a lot of this came from our bidders conference also, but I know that there's probably a lot of new staff that are on this call, and I know that probably the people that wrote the grant aren't necessarily the ones that are administering it. So we wanted to give you an overview of the design of the program. And then we're going to look at the Worknet project management tools. And so that's what Natasha is going to be doing this morning. And then David's going to walk through the partner guide that is going to be available to you. We are developing a manual. Tara, who works with us, is developing a manual. And we are really close. It's still in draft form, but we hope within the next 2 weeks that we'll be finalizing that manual for you. So it's going to be a resource available to you to look up anything that you need information on. And that will be residing in our partner guide, Jteb partner guide area. We're going to go over grant requirements and the grant agreement itself, and we can kind of walk through that, and I'll show you specific things related to that. Tamika's going to talk about financial responsibility and managing this grant. And the GRS reporting requirements, we're not going to do that today. Unfortunately, Josh has some family emergency issues, so he is not going to be able to be on the call this afternoon, but we will schedule a TA meeting just for that, and he will walk you through the grant system. Just for your information, there are a few grants that we're establishing that did not get the MHD number put into it. So we're going to work with accounting to make sure we get those. So if for some reason you get in and you're having issues, that could be part of the reason once it's obligated. But I think there's just a handful. I think there's like 4 or 5 grants that we need to get the MHD number in your grant agreements. So I just wanted to let that know. If you have problems getting into GRS, just let us know. Okay. So these are grantees. We have 44 grantees total that we are funding for this. And so we have a really good group of people. We have some grantees that are definitely new to the system. We have some grantees that are new to even state. So they actually had to submit a W-9 to go to the comptroller's office. So we have some new grantees that doing business with the state, which is great, because part of what we want to do is reach out to organizations that traditionally have not been working with the state government before. So I'm just kind of going through so you can see the names of them. We have a really good mix between education, community-based organizations, community colleges. We've got some high schools. We've got a foundation, Illinois Manufacturers, which is going to be working with a lot of school districts around the state. Jane Adams has been around for a long time. They were a Jteb provider, when we had it many years. So they've been around. Macon County, who's also a WIOA provider. Matricon is also a WIOA provider, and so they work with us on that side. We've got, once again, colleges. So I'm really excited. We've got a really, really good mix of organizations that we're going to be working with. Some are very seasoned, and some are new. So the new ones, our intention is to really help you, like Ram Joy Catering is a new one to us. And the intention is to really help you to make a very successful program. Because part of what we want to do with Jted is build capacity also with organizations. And we want to be able to see organizations that are new to the system succeed. So there is our list. We got YMCA's, there's our list of grantees. So we have a total of 44 proposals, of 44 grantees that we're funding, where it spans 7 economic regions. And then you can see the sectors. So there's a pretty, large grouping of sectors, from accommodations to construction, healthcare, IT, manufacturing, retail. So it kind of gives you the breakout of where everything is based upon the economic development regions. Of course, our Northeast East region is pretty heavy, but, we're glad that we're seeing some representation of all of the other sectors too. And that's one of the things I think in the future too is, how can we build more representation with more organizations and other economic development regions. If you hadn't seen it, the governor did a press release on this, and then I got the link there, and we'll send out this PowerPoint. So this is basically his statement that he did in his press release, said that he was proud to support the workforce recovery efforts in Illinois with an additional $20 million. He said, thanks to the leadership of our 44 community partners around the state, this commitment will provide participants the skills needed to build a better Illinois for everyone. So he gave you shout outs for all of you guys, which I'm really excited. Okay, so we're going to take a step back. I want to kind of give you the background of this program and kind of what's guiding the design and the implementation of the program. Once I said Jted was established like back in 1997, or I believe sometime around there. And it was actually established to meet the needs of employers. I mean, because at that time, the economic environment was that there was a lot of jobs, but they didn't have the people to fill the jobs. So the intention of this was to serve long-term unemployed and employed individuals with low skills. So it was to upskill those individuals that were employed in their job and upskill them with their employer. And so the actual client was the employer. And then so they could get a wage increase, benefit increase, and get promotions. And then the underemployed was to get them the skills so that they could enter the workforce. So fast forward now, in 2021, our legislation revamped Jteb. and it's ironic that we're kind of looking at the same type of an environment for many different, totally different reasons, but we're looking at where there's, jobs. There's jobs available, but the employers are having a very hard time filling those jobs. So it's kind of a parallel to when this was originally established. One of the things that they did with this legislation is they did change a couple things. They changed the who could be served, basically, and they identified them as unemployed, underemployed, and underrepresented populations. And they also included youth as a population in this. Youth was not a population in this prior to. One of the other things, and this is a big thing, and it's just not with the legislation, but this is also with the ARPA funding that we're doing. They want to target disproportionately impacted low-income communities. So that's when we put out the application, we talked about qualified census tracts and disproportionately impacted areas. Those are the areas we want to target. And when we get into a slide with eligibility, we'll go into that. One of the very unique things, and this is completely new to even Illinois, is barrier reduction funding. So one of the things we want to do with that is provide additional resources for those monumental things that are keeping people out of either training or employment. That goes above and beyond what your supportive services policies do. And then once again, like I said before, we want to be able to support capacity of providers and build providers around the state and help organizations that have not had the experience of working with a state so that they can be integrated into our programs. Okay, for the American Rescue Plan, ARPA is the money that this is coming from. And once again, one of their targets is low-income communities. When we look at the Treasury report, that specifically mentioned is disproportionately impacted and the qualified census tracts, and that's a number that we'll be reporting on when we report. The emphasis is also on businesses negatively impacted by COVID. So that's why in the NOFO we targeted specific sectors that had the most impact related to COVID. And that still applies, obviously. We did say what's in your grants is what you're serving. We did have an opportunity to go outside of that in the NOFO, but where we're at now is what we're serving. And then the period of performance, that is just the period of performance for the state. So that was the ARPA money. So the ARPA money must be expended by 2026. And we anticipate another round that's going to be coming out. The NOFO may look a little different, but we do anticipate another round. Okay, the Jteb program, I mean, the intention of it is to address the economic impact experienced by employers and individuals as a result of COVID, and to provide career pathways and support services for people to re-enter. And once again, I said another component of this that was added that is that we're really going to be looking at and monitoring and determining the impact of it is that barrier reduction funding. The sectors, I mentioned that the sectors we're serving are those that were targeted by or most impacted by COVID, and that are needing skilled workers too. So it has to be it's somebody that is in your community that is in demand, is in demand for the jobs in their area, and they've been impacted, by the pandemic. Areas served, once again, we talked about that, the qualified census tract and disproportionately impacted areas. This information will be collected. One of the things I want to point out is that a qualifier is if an individual resides in a qualified census tract or disproportionately impacted area, or if the organization provides services in those areas. So it's very important for us to understand where the services are being provided, because I kind of equate that to the school lunch program. Like if in some areas, everybody kind of qualifies based upon the economic status of that school. This is kind of the same thing. So with an organization, if you're providing services within one of those qualified census tracts, the people qualify for the program. Or if an individual lives in a qualified census tract, they qualify for the program also. And then once again, training providers are huge in this, and we need to make sure that our training providers are accredited. We have accredited bodies that support, and they're recognized. Okay, so some of the program elements we're going to walk through here quickly. We have, eligibility of who can be served in this grant, our targeted industries, targeted POPs, targeted communities, and program categories. So we're just going to walk through this a little deeper. Okay, who's eligible? Eligibility is pretty broad for this grant, which is nice. And this is actually written into our Treasury report. These are our rules coming from the federal government, from the Treasury. So one of the things, you have to be authorized to work in the United States. The intention is a job placement. So we don't want to train somebody that he can't be, placed in a job. So you have to be authorized to work. One of the questions is, do you live in a qualified census tract or disproportionately impacted area? Yes or no. If you do, you're in the program. Or if you're being served, by an organization that's in one of those, you're in the program. Or have you been negatively impacted by COVID? So if you have an individual that is not in a qualified census tract, or the agency is not providing services in a qualified census tract, but you can document that they were negatively impacted by COVID, then they would be qualified to be a part of this grant too. And so the questions we have in there is, have you experienced unemployment or increased food or housing insecurities due to the pandemic? Is one of the questions that we're asking. And the other one is, are you low-income or moderate-income individuals which experience negative impact? Because not only can we serve low income, but moderate income is also available to serve too. And we have this all built into the system. So when we do the income calculations in that, we will know if they're low income or moderate. Not spending a lot of time on this. This once again just talks about the targeted industries. These were the ones that at the top that were in the NOFO that we recommended, and then we also included IT and transportation and construction in that. And we also stated that if you had a business that has 250 or less individuals, that could be served regardless of industry. Kind of at this point, you guys have selected your industries, and it's based upon the NOFO, since it's competitively driven, you're tied to what you had in your NOFO.
Hey, Tammy, this is Monica. Can we go back for a second? There's a question in the chat. Sure. Is there a list of qualified census tracts?
There is, and it's also built, actually, let me get to that screen. There's a link where you can put in a zip code, and then you can find out if it's a qualified census tract. So that'll be coming up here in this next slide or two.
Okay.
Yeah. So once again, we talked about who could be served to, the characteristics of the people served. You're looking at unemployed individuals. You're going to be looking at underemployed individuals. Some of our grantees are just doing underemployed individuals. Some are doing just unemployed, and we call those like the job seeker focus. The underemployed, we call the employer focus. And then the underrepresented individuals, which underrepresented for this is defined as individuals that reside within a qualified census tract or disproportionately impacted area. And that includes youth who has one or more barriers to employment. So, the youth are built into this. We have some organizations, like I said, that are just doing youth. We have some that are doing just underemployed. We have some that are just doing the job seeker unemployed, and we have some that are doing all three of those. So we have, a pretty wide range of all of the applicants.
Tammy,
okay, yes, go ahead.
Will we get a copy of this presentation?
Yes,
Awesome.
And it is being recorded too. So if you need to
beautiful. Okay, thank you.
Yep, it's being recorded too. Okay, so this is the information that provides with a qualified census tract in disproportionately impacted areas. I'm not going to read through it, but there's that link right below that if you click on that, you will go to Illinois Worknet, and it's got a map in there, and you just type in a zip code, and it'll let you know if it's a qualified census tract, if it's a disproportionately impacted area, or if it's both. And this information is built into our system, so when we start putting our clients in the system, it'll automatically tag, based upon their address, if they're in one of those. Okay, and like I said, this program was designed with technically 4 categories. We really have 3. The 4th one is for those grantees that are barrier reduction only. and I think we had five or six barrier reduction only grantees. As we start moving forward, we'll be working with those guys separately because there's no reason for them to be integrated in everything that we're doing with the people that are providing the services. So we'll be doing separate sessions with the barrier reduction only. And what those grantees are doing is they're getting money just for barrier reduction services, and they have a complimentary grant that's doing their training. So they may have like WIOA that's providing the money for the training services, and then we're just doing the barrier reduction, or we have some that maybe is doing apprenticeship or doing. We have Illinois Works is one of them that's also in there that's paying for the training, and we're just providing that extra money to help with the barrier reductions. Otherwise, we're looking at the job seeker focus. This is going to be getting people who are unemployed, employed, getting them the skill upgrades, putting them in apprenticeships, work experience opportunities to get them in. The underemployed, and we're looking at those to upskill individuals that have been impacted. These could be individuals with an employer that the employer would like to upskill them. The employee, a lot of employees have been impacted. They may have a worker that it could even be a new hire that needs skill upgrades so that they can move up their career pathway. It could also be somebody that's working in maybe in a full-time position that wants to change sectors. So the definition is whether they're working or not, basically, is how that's going to play out. Okay, so we really want career pathways in this. We want to make sure that we are training people for a long-time career advancement and sustainability, family sustainability. And, and that sustainability is defined by the person. I mean, some people, if you have a healthcare program, some people may stop at a CNA. And, that's where they're happy at. They may want to go on to like an RN or whatever. But we want to make sure that we're trying to provide opportunity for people to have, sustainability, good incomes, and to be happy and to be productive in what they're doing. So to do that, with a career pathway, a lot of what we've been pushing for is the education and training component that's integrated with work-based learning and foundational skills. When you talk to employers, a lot of what they say is, we can help with training. We need somebody that's going to show up to work. They need people with foundational skills. So foundational skills is very important, for our clients too. So we want that integration between all three of those components to provide a holistic approach to training and getting these individuals into great jobs. Okay, we're going to go into the program services now. It's linear. We've talked about this in the NOFO. You have to have, outreach and recruitment for your individuals. Employer engagement needs to be, we said we needed at least one employer linked to you guys. We would like to see more, and I think, as this grant progresses, that's part of your job is to get more employers in and get more opportunity for your clients. We definitely are big on career planning, and that's going to be a component in our system, our data system, is developing career plans for these individuals that they set goals. You identify, through assessments, you're going to set goals, identify needs, and then provide services. So our training, once again, that is actual training service, occupational training, work readiness training, those types of things. And then work-based learning, and we have multiple different types of work-based learning, and we'll go through this stuff real quick. And then once again, we supportive services, and that's based upon your supportive services policy and barrier reduction, the new thing in here. We did receive some barrier reduction policies from everybody, but I think that's something that we're going to have some maybe TA and discussions around with you guys and see what makes a good barrier reduction policy. And of course, the end result, where we want to be is placement, and then follow up to make sure that they retain. So with outreach and recruitment and employer engagement, we need to have a really comprehensive communication strategy, and we need to raise, awareness of the program. A lot of the times, just people knowing that you have a program, both on the individual side and the employer side is key. A lot of times, word of mouth is a really great way of getting this out. but you really need to, a lot of the conversation is be out there with the people, be out there with the employers, and let them know who you are and what you have to offer. Some of our grants are definitely focusing on specific types of populations. We've got some that are working with youth with disabilities. There's some that are working on reentry. So there's a lot of focus in some of these on specific groups of populations, which is fine too, and you want to keep your focus on that. Once again, we want to expand our partners, with employers, social service agencies. One of the things we want to be able to get out of this too is your network, because we've got all of 44 grantees. Now, granted, some of them are in Southern Illinois, and there's quite a few in the Chicago area. But we want to develop that association and that network too, because you guys do a lot of great work, and we want to share that. We want to make sure that, if there's a good idea out there, that we're sharing it with our network. And also, if you have a client that comes in that maybe not be a good fit for one of your programs, that the program down the street is offering something that would be a good fit. So that communication we really want to see amongst you guys too. And then, of course, employer engagement and them being a strong role in this. Not only just for worksite placement, which is huge. We love to have that employer engagement and worksite placement, which the worksite placement needs to align with their training. So it needs to be a sector-based worksite placement. But also, in developing, if there's some curriculum that needs to be tweaked, or, mentoring or interviewing, and then eventually the goal is placement. So the employers are really key and utilizing them to help you in administrating of this program. Okay, so a career plan. A career plan is going to be guided by the assessments. We had you let us in the program implementation plan. We asked what kind of assessments you're going to be using. We will be doing some work, in the future too on the program implementation plans, just to refine those and make those, a little clearer and better too. But we definitely, want to assess an individual. Now, granted, the assessments are going to look different if you're underemployed compared to unemployed compared to a youth. There will be different assessments that, will and can be utilized. But you really want to assess their capacity and their desire to do a specific job. And then from that, design their career plan. So, and we call it, in the WIOA world, it's kind of an IEP, it's individual employment plan, but it's a career plan that will be developed for these individuals. And that'll guide, based upon what their goals are, what career pathway they want to go into, and then eventually what services you're going to be providing for them. Okay, training. So a key component of this is obviously training. One of the things that we want to see in this grant is, credentialing, certifications, things that are transferable for them, things that they can take and say to an employer that, I've got this, I have the specific credential that I can do the specific task. So we said that they need to lead to industry recognized credentials or post-secondary credentials. Let me get this out of here so I can see. And once again, aligning with the customer choice. So we really want this to be the customer-driven program. The customer indicates, drives it, and and if a customer comes in and it's not a fit with you, then that's where we want that referral to somebody else, because we want to make sure if a customer's not happy with with a choice, then they're not going to necessarily be successful. So with training, we have occupational skills training and non-traditional employment training, skill upgrades and retaining, entrepreneurial training, job readiness, adult education and literacy, and even like the work readiness is all of those essential skills that are needed to be placed. So that's what we're looking. A lot of the credentialing, especially is in the occupational skills training, whether it be in manufacturing or healthcare or IT or food service. There's all those credentialings that would be obtained from those. Work-based learning is key. We like to see sectorial training grouped with sectorial work-based learning. So when you're looking at, say manufacturing, that they're receiving their, a welding certificate, if they're doing paid work experience, that they're working in that occupation. And it's been proven that there's better success when you group training along with hands-on work-based opportunities. So we would definitely like that in your programs, and there's quite a few that do have that in your programs. And even if you're not paying for it, if you can collaborate with other resources to do that, it's a good thing. It's a good fit. And you can even do like non-paid internships with the youth or paid internships, those types of opportunities. But it does prove to be more successful for individuals when they have training and work-based training linked together. Supported services. So basically, supported services is your policy. It's what you traditionally do with your supported services and how you offer this to your customers. Barrier reduction is above and beyond that. So we want to make sure there's a distinction that you're just not using barrier reduction for supported services. Barrier reduction needs to be anything that, like an example we like to throw out is, your supported services policy says I'll pay $250 for a car repair. Well, somebody comes in and their car repair is $750. Well, the barrier reduction funding can pay for that extra $500 to get that car fixed. There's been, and other grants that we've done, people that have dental issues, that it's expensive, but, that's creating, where they can't get a job or they don't feel comfortable, the communication skills, if they're, if they're embarrassed about their teeth or whatever. So, things like that. We want to make sure that it is above and beyond what your supportive service policy is. And in our system, we've established the system, so you're going to be reporting on that. So if you had that example of a car, you can pay $250 out of support services and $500 out of barrier reduction, and it'll both document in the system, and it'll show as a split payment. So because we're definitely going to be tracking this barrier reduction funds and seeing the impact it's had. Okay. Really important is case noting. You need to case note on your customers to tell the story, not only just for you, but for us or for anybody else. If you have a staff person that leaves and has to come in and go with these customers, we need to have really good case noting, and we will do some TA on case noting also. But it needs to be two-way communication. It needs to be the opportunity where you need to correct course on the career plan. When you're talking to an individual and you find out, okay, this is not really what they want to do, we need to correct course here and we need to set new goals. So communication and case noting is really, really an important factor of this. And some of the rules that we have around this is case notes need to be entered in the system 10 calendar days, no later than 10 calendar days after the conversation happened. And you need to typically reach out to the individuals every 30 days. So there needs to be some sort of contact with these individuals every 30 days, and then that case note needs to be entered, within that 10-day period. So, and then once again, this last one is really critical too. The case note should, show coordination with services from other organizations too and other programs. One of the really cool aspects that I love that is being developed, has been developed for this program through Worknet, is a referral system process. That's going to be, I think it's going to be amazing. And that'll be, you'll be trained on that through Natasha and her group. But I think that's going to be a really cool opportunity to really do good referrals and understand what happens with them. Okay, and then we have placement and follow-up. So obviously the whole intention of this grant is to place people in employment. And follow-up, it is essential. One of the things we said is we're not going to completely hold you to it and make some really stringent requirements around follow-up, because we understand this isn't like a WIOA program where you're funded year after year after year. This is a grant, and when it ends in 2024, your obligations to us is done. So April 30th of 2024 is when this grant ends. But we want you to do follow-up. So you may have individuals placed early on. We want you to follow up with them. We are tracking 60 and, or let me think, 6 months and 9 months. our tracking. And our intention is to be able to connect with IDES and get wage data information for long-term tracking of these customers and see how they're doing. But we definitely want you to be putting in the system, yeah, they got a job, this is who it is with, and we want to see follow-up that, yeah, we're communicating with them after the job. You can offer services, fare reduction services afterwards too, if they need some, money for gas, if they need a little bit more help with childcare or housing, just to get them stable so that they can, have their first check or their second check, and so that way they can stay on the job. So it's very important that we use follow-up. Okay, with that, and Natasha, I am done a little early on my part. I have a tendency to talk really fast, but let's see if we have any questions before we move on to Natasha.
Hey, Tammy, we do have a couple questions.
Sure.
Nancy, this is like your very initial conversation.
You're cutting out a little bit.
About Nancy Phillips said, oh, great. Will those be sent by an email? And then this follow-up question for Mike was, how do we confirm that our signed documents have been received and that we will be receiving those documents back once they've been signed by Tammy?
Yeah. So we have actually got 2 grants obligated already. So we're going to, our staff will be sending those out to you as soon as we have them signed and obligated at the comptroller's office, and then they're in our system. So that's part of what we do. If you've worked with me on other grants, sometimes I forget about that stuff, and I'm bad at that. But I've got Monica and Rosa that are very organized, so they're going to help out with that. So once it's obligated and everything's done in our system, we get the completed contract, and we'll be sending that back out to you. What is the other question? You're kind of cutting out.
The very first one was, will those be sent by email? And the follow-up is, how do we confirm that our signed documents have been received? And we'll be receiving those documents back once they've been signed.
Yes, you will be receiving the contracts. I think we've got, I don't have the number right in front of me. We've got probably 3/4 of our contracts out to the grantees, and we've gotten a lot of them back, not all, but we've gotten a lot back to be processed. So, the push is, once again, you guys, if you have that contract, get it signed and get it back to us ASAP. Couple of things on the contracts we've had to follow back up on is on the grant agreement, you have to have it signed by your authorized signator. And then we have a section, I think it's Exhibit D, where you can assign other designees. So if you're completing that and you're assigning a designee, the authorized signature needs to sign that too. So you can assign the designee, but the authorized signature needs to sign underneath that so that we know that that's, legit. And then on the budget on page 3, we need the like the CEO and CFO, or those equivalency representatives to sign it. So we need the 2 signatures. So we've had to send a couple of them back because we've only had 1 signature on the budget, or the authorized signature didn't sign. So please make sure that that's the case when you send those grants in. And like I said, we will be sending out an email with a grant agreement once we have it obligated and it's in our grant system.
The follow-up question, I believe, to that is also, do the contracts require original signatures, or are electronic signatures okay?
I think the policy basically is, if it's electronic signature, it needs to come from the authorized signature's email indicating that they approve the grant. So we have to accompany that with the email indicating from the authorized signature that they are the one signing the grant and approving the grant.
Hey, Tammy, this is Sanjeev Kumar. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Once you receive the signed grant, how soon do we get it back after your signature so that we can establish the account numbers and everything and start using the funds?
Once we get it back, we'll try and get it within a day. Yeah, we've been a little swamped. There are 2 obligated, and those have not gone out yet because we've been a little swamped trying to get everything in by our deadline. But starting next week for sure, any of the obligated grants will be going back out to you and your contract.
I think the SIU sent you a couple days ago. So should we wait for a few more days, or you have already sent it signed?
Are you talking about the executed grant agreement back to you
Yes.
guys or no?
Yeah,
Talking about?
we signed it, SIU signed it and
Right.
sent it back to you. So I think
Yes.
we are.
Yeah, you're good. Unless there's any questions from
Have you already
accounting,
sent it, or-
because everything that we've gotten back has gone, we've packaged and it's gone to accounting. So if you have sent back your signed agreement, unless we've emailed you and said, hey, we need this changed or we need that changed, it's gone over to accounting. So accounting, it takes a day, for them to get through, and she's got a lot. We have one accountant over there that's working with this stuff. So she's got a lot to process. So I would anticipate, like I said, starting next week, we should see a lot of obligations, and then we can start getting those grant agreements out to you guys. I plan by Tuesday, I would say we'll start getting those out. Our big push right now, like I said, once again, is getting all of the grants in, signed, and to accounting for obligation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have from Jane Norton for Exhibit D. Do we just need one authorized signature? I see line for 2 individuals, but it seems that you would just need 1 signature.
Now, if that is on the budget, we need the like the CEO and the CFO. So the budget needs 2 signatures. The grant agreement I think it's that second page, needs the authorized signature.
I'm sorry. It's Exhibit D for the 2 individuals.
Okay. Yeah. So Exhibit D, that's where you can put designees. So when we start this program, a lot of times people want a designee to sign for them, like for modifications or for reports. So you can assign your designees in Exhibit D, and you can tell us who they are, give that information, but then the authorized signature needs to sign under each one of those so that we know the authorized signature has approved that person to be a designee. So it does take the 2. It takes a signature of the designee and it takes a signature of the authorized signator on that. And like I said, that's only if you want to set a designee. If the authorized signature is the person that's going to sign everything, then you don't have to fill that out. But if you want to set a designee for it, then you complete that.
Okay, thanks.
We have one comment, or what's a question, but it'll be, I'm sure, for you to address after the fact. We have our coordinators out of the country. I'm unsure if she received the contract. Can you confirm it was sent? It's Rome's Joy Catering. So
that has not been sent yet. And I did send an email. I know Cliff's on. I sent an email to you with we needed an additional document. We've got your W-9, but we needed an additional document for accounting to create something over there. So until we get that, we can't push that one forward. And I will resend that email. If you want to put in the chat who should get this, the individual has asked about that. And then if it's Cliff, I did send you an email the other day regarding another document that we need.
Okay. Doesn't look like on that topic there's more, but we have a couple of other questions. So Martha Younger White asks, can people who are currently working be served through this program?
Yes, but the thing is it depends upon what your grant is, what you submitted in your NOFO and what we've got, for your project implementation plan. Because it was this is a competitive based process, and we can't make major shifts in your program because of that. So if you said that you're going to serve job seekers, and not underemployed individuals, and you need to stay with that job seeker category.
Okay, and then, and Nixon, it's a combination of variety of questions, but I think we'll do one at a time. When will the handbook come out?
I'm hoping that the manual will be within like 2 weeks. And we'll do a training session just on the manual. And go over the content of the manual too.
The
We'll
next
provide you a bunch
question
of next
is what
steps.
assessments will
Natasha's
be-
got a bunch of steps for you coming up next week.
Yeah. Let's see what, we'll part of this we'll talk about here in just a few moments, but the question is what assessments will be allowed for the career planning step? Can we use the ones that we use, or do we need to use the formal official assessments from Jted?
You can, well, I'd be interested to know what your assessments are, because we asked that for your program implementation plan, what assessments you're using. And we realize that each population is different. So if you have an underemployed individual, there may be different assessments that maybe you do with an employer to determine skill upgrades. So it's not like, yeah, you have to do this assessment. It's not like everybody has to be tape tested. That's not the case. So it's just guided based upon who you're serving and what the need is for that. We provide you a lot of resources. Now, Illinois Worknet has got some, really good assessments. They got their Employment 101 that you can walk through to determine, interest and capacity and stuff. There's a lot of things out there that you can use, but we're not saying you have to use one specific assessment.
But we do have assessments built into the system, which we'll show you in a minute, which is really the application and the needs assessment screening that will need to be done just to, anyway.
Exactly.
Then we have the last question from Anne is what are the bulk editing or uploading opportunities for Worknet as we transfer data and case notes from our internal CRM?
And that is a Natasha question.
So the information, we have had discussion with one of the grantees about uploading information, but we still need to work out those details with Commerce. There are opportunities for you to export information out of Illinois Worknet that could be uploaded into your internal CRM. Okay, the next question is from Goldie Fleming. And the question is, can the organizations that have barrier reduction funds provide support to those who do not have funds?
So you want to collaborate with one of the other Jteb grantees that is doing training and you're providing, barrier reduction funding can be provided to anybody that's in the complementary grant. So yeah, there's no restrictions. If you're going to be working with another organization that did not have barrier reduction funding in it, you could do that. Just like, if you wanted to work with WEO or one of our other state programs, we have Illinois Works, which is one of them that is a complementary program that DCL is operating, and they're supporting that. So the answer is yes. Are there any other questions? Hello?
Hi there, this is Hugo from Central State, sir. I posted a question regarding what the exit process might look like out of the program. If there's some, or that'll be a topic that'll be later.
We can discuss that later, but it's not going to be like WEOA or anything like that. We want to make Jted simple as possible and not as restrictive as some of the WEOA processes. But yeah, so basically we will have exit reasons of why they either they were employed, they dropped out. There's going to be a number of reasons within the system that you can select, and the system will guide that.
Thank you.
One of the things, real quick, if you haven't done it, because we just want to make sure we have a roll call of who all is here. So please put your name and your organization in the chat so we have a documentation of who attended this session. If you haven't done it already, you may have already done it.
Okay, Tammy, I'm sorry. I'm back. I was kicked out for a little bit.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Is there any other questions? We have about 3 minutes, and then Natasha's going to talk about the data system. Data system.
This is Goldie. I had asked a
Doing
question
deeper dives
about.
into all of this. You know, we'll be providing technical assistance, and I want to reach out to you guys, and if there's specific technical assistance that you would like for us to provide. You know, we've got our professional development side on the WIOA side that we can lean on. So if there's anything that you guys need as far as professional development or technical assistance, let us know too. Okay, well, if not, then I'm going to turn it over to Natasha.
Hi, this is Goldie. I had a question. I don't know if maybe I missed the response. I was asking if the organizations that have the barrier reduction funding, can they help support organizations that do not? And can we find out who those organizations are in case we need them?
The answer is yes to both. And those organizations are on too. So if they, you know, they can always reach out to you, Goldie, too. But yes, you can. We will be posting on our partner resource page once we get through all of these grants. We'll be posting, you know, who the list is of grantees and what type of services they're providing on our partner resource page and on the public page also.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. You see my screen with the map?
Yes.
Yep, we've got it.
Okay. That's kind of strange. I don't usually, it gives me a box to show me screen sharing, but that's okay. I wanted to, one of the questions that came up earlier was the QCT DIA map search, and I did put that link in the chat. So you can enter a street address in here, and let me I have a test person with, I can put their address in here. See if I can get to it real quick, just to show you kind of what that. Why am I locked up?
What kind of spreadsheet do you want? No, the Excel one where we're uploading, where we are with the grants. Oh, that's not necessarily a good place to put it. Okay, I don't know why I was thinking that.
Well, my computer's being, I don't know. Actually, I will have to, I don't know why my computer's not letting me search this location, but I will have, hey, David, if you could just make a note, send a message to Chris, just to look at this map. But normally you just put the location in here, and then it'll tell you if it's within QTC or DIA, but you will need the full address. And but this is, you know, for your information, you can use this, but just to let you know that the logic that's built within this map is already part of the application and eligibility process within the tools, the Jted tools. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. So today we're going to look at, well, this is a really high level overview of the program implementation and reporting tools that are used for the Jted program. They're available through Illinois Worknet, and we're going to go ahead and, like I said, take a high level look at some of the features that are available. We'll provide a high level demonstration. The idea is to give you just a flavor of the different types of tools that are available for you without overwhelming you with information, because we will have training on the specific parts. And so so more detailed information and demonstration and opportunity to ask questions will be available during those trainings. The next step for this part of the orientation as well will be to let you know how you let us know who should have access to these tools. So you can identify your staff, and we'll go through that process because we need to be able to provide them with access to the tools. And then we'll follow up at the end with providing a time and a way for you to sign up for small group technical assistance. What we found in the past is that just to kind of get started and get everybody going, it's more efficient to use small groups and just to work through that setting up process with you. So we're going to take a look at the Jted Tools, and we have quite a few tools available in the system. With the system, we have individuals or your customers will be able to view their information. As a partner, you can enter the information and use the tools as a way to communicate with the individual so that they know their progress in the system or through the program, and have real-time data access to their most recent data that's in the system. And then we have a place for you to identify employers and track their engagement, essentially. So we have Grantee tools and information, which those are the tools that are kind of like the base where we set up and customize the information for your program. We have the online application and initial assessment, and what is built in as part of that process is eligibility. We have enrollment as well. We also have a referrals piece that's new. We have case notes that can also be used as communication tool. We have the case management tools, of course, so that you can put together that career plan, use that plan to track the current status of those services, assessments, all kinds of things that are built in with that portion. As I mentioned before, we have the participant or your customer's dashboard so they can see where they are in the process. We have, the transparency tool, and reporting, so you can see, where your agency is within the overall process, and then different reporting tools that the program managers will use to make sure and provide technical assistance and help keep everybody on track. So with the Grantee setup tools, what we're going to do is we have your information in the system right now as far as your grants, identifying you as category 1, 2, 3, or 4 only. And we'll use that information to identify the different services that are available based on your grant agreement. And so that's where we customize those services for you. We also have a place where you enter in your training program information, as well as your credentials, and then your work site. So this is really like setting up the foundation so that you have all the pieces and parts that are used to populate the career plan and various reports. With our intake, of course, we have where you enter the information into the system. We have the application piece. As part of the application piece, the system knows, in this particular example, the grantee offers category 1 and category 2 services. So they get the right application, and then it checks to say, oh, this person's eligible for category 1. They're not eligible for category 2. Do you want to proceed? So you continue with the application. And then we have the enrollment piece where you identify if the person is interested in enrolling into the program, or maybe they decline to participate. So that takes place here. And then we have a needs assessment screening, and that helps to identify which of those support services or barrier reduction services that are needed. And so you have a view, and then we have the referrals piece. So if they need a referral, they can use that tool as well. And then it leads into building out that career plan. We have also, we have our overview page right here that highlights, if they're, enrolled, what's the referral status, training services, barrier reduction service, support services status, credentials if they've earned those, and their completion status. And what we've added here are some indicators. So if and each of the definitions for these indicators is right here in this little info bubble. But you can see easily, if the person, what we call as a red flag, it means that there's some type of action that needs to take place. And it's either like a past due situation, or it's more of a critical situation that needs to be taken care of right away. If it's yellow or just says needs attention, it means that you might want to take a look at this, see what the status is, update the information, and if you're good, well, then you're good to go. No worries. Let's say that if the person decides not to enroll, then these would all be grayed out as not applicable. So what we're trying to do is provide you with an overall summary of the data that's at a glance. You can see what information is in the system, but then also according to the system logic, what is considered needs attention, good to go, not applicable. Each of these links back to where you can update that data. We also, as I mentioned before, we have the career plan. This is a career plan builder. So it goes through the process of reviewing assessments, setting goals, adding the steps or services. And then this information, you have a builder view. The customer would have their more of like a read-only type view. It's more than read-only, but it's a little bit different view. And then we have the follow-up. So, you can say if the person is complete, not complete, withdrew, and then you can also enter other information like employers, post-secondary, apprenticeship. You can see if they earned any credentials. You can enter a success story, all as part of the follow-up and completion. We do have our dashboard. So if you're familiar with Illinois Worknet, some of our other projects, we do have the dashboards, and these have, those different indicators. Again, it's similar with the green, you're good to go. White is information. Yellow is it needs some attention. Red is the red flags. We have the definitions of what's the criteria for each of these areas on the dashboard. And the dashboard has your numbers of people that fall into those categories, whatever the line item is. When you select that link, it takes you to a filtered list of customers. So especially if you're in a situation where you have a red flag and they need to be updated, you can go directly to that list and address what the red flag is. For those that are familiar with what we call it the Julio report, we're using the Julio report for this program as well. A little bit of updates because in the past it's mainly been used for youth. So we'll be making updates and using the Julio report. If you're not familiar with the Julio report, then you will be, because we'll provide training on that as well. A new piece that we've added, and we have the tools built in there to collect the information. We're still in the process of putting together the final touches for the actual report on this. But we have a cost report, or where you can really take an overall look at the services as far as, support services or barrier reduction services, and the different costs associated with those services, and really drilling down to the detail of the categories at housing, transportation. You'll be able to see, at the individual level or at the higher level, and the overall costs, and be able to export that information. So we're kind of excited about that new feature as well. As I mentioned before, for your participant tools or your customer, we use those terms interchangeably, but they will have an only Worknet account, and so they'll be able to view their dashboard where they could access their career plan. This would say Jted career plan. Click on it. They can see where they are with the status. Here's a small view where you can see it's broken out by their skills, interest, and experience. So that would be like their assessments. They can see the various steps, what the plan is, planned start dates, planned end dates, if it's on track, complete, not started. They can see kind of their outcomes under accomplishments. There's information about helping them find a job. We have links to various job tools, whether it's our virtual job fair or our job finder, jobs search finder tools. Those are all available in here as well. And then they can also see an update log, so they can see who has updated their career plan. We do have some additional tools that Tammy was referring to or referenced a little bit with, like the Employment 101, but we also have the resume builder. So the resumes are available in the system, so you could see their saved resumes, with the letters and a variety of tools that are available within our resume builder tool. All right, so I am going to, let's see, close out of this and jump over to do a demonstration. I am logged in, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm logged in as a, let me move this over here, as a provider that is offering category 1 and 2, services to categories 1 and 2. And so when you go to the tools, what you're going to do to access them, well, let's just start first things first. Let's just go ahead and cover this right now. Whenever you are new to Illinois Worknet, if you don't have an Illinois Worknet account, then click sign up. You can sign up and create that Illinois Worknet account, and then we have instructions so that once you are set up with the Illinois Worknet account, you can request to become a partner. And then also at that time when you're requesting to become a partner, then you'll be able to let us know that you need access to the Jted tools. So you go to illinoisworknet.com, click the sign up. I went ahead and logged into my account because I just want to show you one way that you can easily get to your Jted tools. So once you're logged into Illinois Worknet, you go to my dashboard, you'd go to the Customer Support Center or IWIS, and that would take you to your groups page where you can access the Jted tools. So I'm going to close out of this because this is actually production, and we're going to take a look at Jay Bowler as a partner account, and this person has access to their Jted project group. So I'm going to select that group. And you'll see a list of customers. These are a variety of test customers that we've added. If you happen to see a name that looks very familiar to you, it's completely by coincidence. I use a name generator. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that these are not real people. They're generated fake names, and we just add in the data. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add a customer. So you're going to go to add a customer. I'm going to go to my next fake name here. And you can laugh at me because sometimes I can't even pronounce the fake names. So let's see. So we put in the date of birth and their email. An email is required, and we ask, or we have the fields in here to have you enter the email twice, because in the past, you know, sometimes we've had instances where the wrong email is put in there and the customer's not getting their information. So this way it does a check to make sure that the email is correct. We have our social security number, again, fake person, fake number. And we have you put this in here twice. This person is only with this Spoon Liver Electric. And then let me go ahead and, if you had access to multiple, grantee locations, then you would see multiples there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for existing applicants. And it takes a look in the system at the first name, last name, email, date of birth, and social security number. And it's checking the Illinois Worknet accounts. We want to make sure that the customers are only using one account and all the information is saved with that one account. So it's checking. It doesn't normally take this long. I'll give it a moment. If there is another account that's already in the system, then it will say, it'll let you know that there's already an account, or there's two other accounts that are using whatever information, and it will direct you to contact our team so that we can look at the details within that account and make sure the information is correct. Sometimes they just have had multiple accounts. We have to inactivate one. In other instances, we've had one person lie about their age so they would be eligible for a program, but we already had like the real account information in the system. All right, well, I'm going to go on for the purposes of right now. Looks like, you know, we do have people actively making updates and tests. So unfortunately for me right now, this is not going quickly. So we're just going to go ahead and look at another individual that I added yesterday. So let's see. I'm just going to go ahead and hold on. Let me make sure. Yeah. All right, we're going to close out. And I'm going to get back in. Let's see what's going on here. In tests, it's a little bit challenging because we have people pushing out updates all the time. One of the things that for you for production, we schedule those updates to happen, after hours, so you don't have to deal with some of this stuff. We're going to go ahead and see about another account. That's because I have more test people we can work with. All right. This is beautiful. Well, apparently they made an update or did something. Somebody pushed something out. So I apologize that I can't go through those details because they pushed something out and it's not working for me. But never fear. We can have a backup plan here. And let's see, these instructions are available in the partner guide. So we'll have David will go through those in just a little bit. So some of the things that what we wanted to do, we have the whole process for, adding a customer to the program, to the project group, which I started. Once they're in the system, you can search for that customer. You can also select the link to that customer and you can access their information. Let's see if I have the application. Here's the details for the application. So once you have added the customer and it'll say, oh, this is a new account. So you can take and write down the customers, or provide to them their username and their password. And then it's going to say, do you want to complete the application or do you want to just continue adding customers? So at that time, you can click on the link to add, to complete the application. Now, when you look at these instructions, you'll see that we have 2 different applications. They have the same basic questions, but if you're a category 4, you have a smaller number of questions because you're only providing the barrier reduction services. So the question that is specific to you as a category 4 only would be, what other training programs is the participant in? So is it Illinois, Apprenticeship Illinois, Illinois Works, Title I, Youth Career Pathways, or some other program? And so once you've completed all that information, then it'll say, they're eligible or not, and you can move forward with enrolling them into the program. If you have category 1, 2, or 3, then these are, again, some of the same pieces that are asked in category 4. So we're going to have the first name, last name, date of birth, social security number. In that first part, you saw that I already entered it. So it'll go ahead and populate it. You're going to use the street address, city, state, and zip code auto-populates based on the address. But this information right here is going to determine if the person is in the queue. I think it's QCT-DIA. And then if they are, then great. Or if the provider's in one of those areas, then great, that checks off that eligibility piece. If they're not, then it'll ask you a question a little bit later on about being negatively impacted by COVID. So we have the basic contact, demographic information. Again, as Tammy mentioned, we do ask the authorized to work. We have to meet the selective service requirements. collect a little bit more information. The situation that best describes the participant, like if they're unemployed or if they are qualified to have a higher skill position, so they're underemployed. This information is used for eligibility, and that will show you like if they're a category 1 or category 2. We have the number of people, the household, and the monthly household income. And so that determines if they're low or moderate income. And like I said before, if the customer or the provider is not in a QCT or DIA, then they need to answer either that they've been negatively impacted because of unemployment, increased food and housing insecurity, or it's health related. Once you do that, then you get this little area that tells you why they are or are not eligible. You can continue with the application, or you can just say, I'm not interested. But in this case, we're going to say continue on with the application. And then, again, this is the text if they're not eligible. Then it asks you questions about the high school, highest level of education. If they don't have an associate's, bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, and they don't have one of these other scores, then it's going to ask you these basic screening questions. And if you say no to any of these screening questions, it's going to let you know that they should make a referral to an adult ed program. You can document any other credentials they might have, things about their interests, what are they wanting to do, when are they available, what's their current employment status. We do ask in here about their hourly wage. That way we can see if there's been a wage increase, if they are employed. Then you have a summary of all the information, and then it takes you back to the intake page to continue on with the intake process. Then with the intake process, we would have, we completed the application, and then you enter the enrollment status. Let's see how detailed I didn't go into super detail on that, but you can say, whether they're enrolled or they decline to participate. Once they're enrolled, you can access some of these other tools, but until they are enrolled, you won't be able to enter in the training or completion pieces. So just, maybe you just glazed over this and you're like, why can't I not get to these? That's a troubleshooting moment. You might want to make sure that, they're enrolled just to kind of keep the data clean. So then we have a service needs assessment. So it goes through and asks you the questions of, do you need housing? Will you need transportation? Will you need dependent care? Those sorts of questions. And then you'll be able to see that screening. And it also provides recommendations on referrals. So, do I need to contact whether it's DHS or community-based organization or different online resources? We provide those with the recommendations. And then we have the referral piece. And what the referral piece does is you can say that this person needs a referral. I identify or enter an organization, enter the contact information, enter like the categories at housing, transportation, dependent care, healthcare, education, referral, and so you identify those categories. So all these are still in alignment with the different types of categories across the board. And then you can send the information to the individual. And what it does is it comes across as an email that says, a referral has been sent to you. Please respond to the referral. And then they click on the link. They complete the referral form, and the data is saved in Illinois Worknet, so you can see if they're pending, or you rejected, or accepted the referral. And that way, all the information is saved within Illinois Worknet, and you don't have to manage those referrals by email, and it's saved with that customer's account. The other thing is we're not transmitting personal information over email. It's all within the system, and they access that information through that link in that email. Once you've done these pieces and parts, then you can go ahead and work on the career plan. Let's see. So an overview for the career plan is that, I'll go over this quickly. You're going to have a builder view where you can review the assessments. As part of that, I know one of the questions was, well, can we use some of our own assessments? The answer is that, like Tammy said, is yes, but we do have a place within the review assessments where you can add additional assessment information that's not stored through Illinois Worknet. So if you had another assessment, you could put those results in here under review assessments. Again, when we do the training, you will see, you can do a deeper dive and do an assessment summary for various, topics, whether it's education, independent living, so forth. Then you'll set the goals and based on the assessments. And then once you set those goals, then you can add the steps and services. And the steps and services bring in the information that's from your grantee details when we get you all set up, so that it brings in your training program information, it brings in your credentials, it would bring in your work site placements if you are offering those, and if you're working with youth, your services will be customized to the services available for youth. If you're working with adults, those services are customized for the adults, what's offered for adults. And then again, you can see the updates, say you have a history of that. You have an overview. Again, like I mentioned before, the customer can access that as well. You can export, I'm sorry, you won't do that one, but you can print a customer copy. You can indicate if the career plan is signed, you can upload it, or you can have them sign it electronically through their Illinois Worknet account. So this is just an example of like the assessments where you add in additional assessments, goals, services, editing services. And then we do have, depending on the different service that's available, we have different features. So the status is your main part of it with start and end dates, and the service providers where, we pull in that training program information. The dollar value is mainly used for those support services, barrier reduction services. You'll see attendance. The attendance piece is not required for this program, but it is available through those templates, and then where they are identifying that they're earning those credentials. Okay, let's see here. And then we'll just go quickly over this dashboard area. You can see, again, where we talked about the yellow, red, and green. The gray color means that you don't have to worry about them right now. So you can see overall we have the application, how many are enrolled in each of these programs, how many declined, the status of the service needs assessment, status of referrals, what the referrals are made to, housing, transportation, dependent care, legal, healthcare, well, we have the uniforms, other, let's see here. We have tracking if they are on track based for their services based on the start and end dates that are in the career plan. We have information about barrier reduction services, support services, credential and completion information. So those are just the high level overview of some of the tools that we have. We'll get into much greater detail. And again, I apologize. I'm going to try one more time to see if they put any updates. I saw some messaging going on, so I'm hopefully they realize that they. Let's just try one more time. Okay. Let me just go in. Okay. So it looks like they realized they pushed something out, but here we are. Again, I'm not going to go through the details because I just went through some of those, but just to kind of give you a view, you know, the application, enrollment status, service needs assessment, since you didn't really get to see that. You can see like if I chose homeless and I needed to do these 2 items, then, you know, these other items, I could hit submit and save it. When I look at this, I can see that I had homeless and these are the recommendations. And these are the different types of support services that need to be provided for that individual. And so this is your service summary, but that'll be available so you can see what's still open and what still needs to be offered as you look at this overview page. With the referrals piece, you can see with adding a new referral, I'm going to search for somebody I already have in there. You can add a new contact, or you can search the contact, and I can say I want to do transportation, and because I have, you know, financial challenges or no transportation, and then, you know, enter a note, submit referral. And once I do that, I can see the different referrals. I can see their status. Once the person that was in the contact information says they get the email and they respond, then this will change from, you know, like pending to either rejected or accepted and so forth. And then you can see the referral. And then with the training services, we had a question earlier about the IEP career plan template. And so this is the career plan. We have an area where you can do reviewing assessments. You can see the different assessments that are available. Adding more assessments, you can select the type, basic skill or other. You can choose from, you know, let's say skills. You can choose one that's already in there or other, put the assessment name and put the other information in there. And once you do that, then it'll be available for you to use for other people in your other customers. We have the assessment summary that you can put together. The setting goals is simply adding, you know, your goal statement, what's it related to, long-term, short-term, not started, add the goal. I can add services directly to that by selecting the service. Or maybe if I wanted to do like my costs list, I can add that service. And I'm just going to show you this real quick. For the support service itemized list, I'm just going to say it's with my support one. I started it here. I'm editing it here. Put some notes in here. Say it started. Update the customer. And obviously you're going to put good notes. And then for the dollar value. So this was a newer feature. I just want to show you. that you can say, okay, I need transportation, and it's going to be for, I don't know, transportation cards. Maybe it's a gas card or a bus pass. And we started here, entering the cost, 25, let's say 4 of them, paid by the grant. It's not a split payment. I guess you put an invoice number, and there you go. Oops. And then, so you can see the totals, you can see this detailed list and what the categories are. So if you wanted to look, just search for something that was transportation, maybe I had in here healthcare and transportation, I could filter that list. And then all those show up on your career plan. So you can see the one that I added, or I had added one previously. And then again, once you are ready to exit a person or mark them as complete, you have your program completion. It won't let you move somebody out until their training services have been complete. So I'm just going to mark this one that I just added as complete. And once you do that, let me refresh the page. Well, I thought maybe I have something else open because I just grabbed somebody. But once you do that, then you can change them to be either complete or withdrew from the program. And then if you have employer information, post-secondary, apprenticeship, credentials, or success story, you can add those to the system as well. All right, so that's a high-level overview for the tools. And then I'm going to go back and go on to our next step. So do we have any, it was a little chaotic, but do we have any questions that I have been entered while I was going over all that?
Yeah, there were a few that came in. The first one was the participant can view the plan in Worknet, but can they edit anything?
They can edit things that like self-service type steps, but they can't edit anything that we call like staff assisted type services.
The next question we have is, are these Worknet screens available to those who use assistive technology?
Yes. Yes.
And then we have, if we serve the same person on Worknet through 2 different grants, will their Worknet account reflect case notes from both? Meaning, do we need to double enter a follow-up note on their placement in each Worknet group, or will a note from one be reflected in the other?
They, at this time, they're not like put, like, if let's just say you're in Illinois Works, I don't know. What I would do is my heavy case noting in Illinois Works, and then as follow-up, I would enter in the follow-up, the completion status, and if you had some follow-up information. In the end, we will be able to see that the person who, because they're going to use the same Illinois Worknet account. That's why we do that initial matching to make sure we're using the same account. In the end, ultimately, let's say if you're in Illinois Works and using barrier reduction only, then you will be able to tell that, this person, what their overall completion is, as far as where they are with apprenticeships. and we can see the bigger picture, but it's not going to automatically happen, on this at the individual level. So I'll leave that up to more like Tammy to, say like to what degree they need to be as far as case notes. I know with the Jted program, it's minimal case notes as far as completion. I think it's after 6 months, for 6 months, and then or whenever the program ends, whichever one is shorter. Is that correct, Tammy?
Yes, yeah. So we'll be tracking 6 month and 9 month, and after the program's over, we're hoping that we can get wage data from IDES. But I strongly encourage you to follow up with your participants on a monthly basis, completely until the end of the program. With some situation like they're employed for 3 to 6 months, and they're sustainable, then obviously you can finish that. But it just depends upon what the need is of the participants, especially once they're employed. If there's still some services that need to be provided specifically, like through barrier reduction, to keep them sustained in their employment.
So the answer is you still want the case notes, and yes. It's going to unfortunately be more like a dual entry.
You mean after they exited?
Well, if they're in Illinois Works or Apprenticeship Illinois, something like that, that's already in Illinois Worknet.
They need to enter a case notes relevant to the grant.
Right.
Yeah. So if it's barrier reduction only, what are you doing? What's your case notes? And part of that would be, the case note may be followed up with the program manager in Illinois Works, and this is what's going on. Provided barrier reduction services, whatever for this particular thing, followed up, because we do want to know, what's going on with those customers too. We're going to want to know, were they placed in employment? So there needs to be that conversation. And like I said, hopefully if there's two related grants and Worknet, we can maybe look at some connectivity as we're moving along. But that's information that we're going to want to, get on barrier reduction, especially to see how their outcomes are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Right, so yes, you do have to enter it in for both as it relates to the particular grant. Overall, we'll be able to see those connections with those programs, but right now with the tools, it's not going to automatically pull that information in. Okay, do you have another question?
Yeah, we have a few more. If we have a WIOA enrolled customer in our program, do we need to co-enroll them in our Jted training grant to utilize barrier reduction funds for that customer, or is there an alternate way to track BRF supports without doing co-enrollment?
Well, I think when you're talking co-enrollment, obviously WIOA has its system, and you do what you do in there. We're going to need information for the people served with barrier reduction funds in this grant in Illinois Worknet. Now, it's not going to be as deep of a dive, obviously, as if you were providing the services out of it. But there's going to be specific, we're going to want to know what services you're providing. So you're going to be adding services to that. We need to have, and for all of you guys, if we don't have them all already, we need to have a copy of your complimentary grants that's going to be used, that is going to be providing the training services for that. So we'll know, okay, these guys are being trained out of WIOA or Illinois Works, or maybe maybe it's Snappy and T, or whatever that complimentary grant program is. So, and I lost my train of thought now. But yeah, you're gonna be entering these people in Worknet, but it's just not going to be as comprehensive as if you were providing services out of it.
All right, our next question is, if we already have a robust bookkeeping system, must we use the new cost report in the Worknet screens just shown that relate to costs?
Yes. Yeah, because the only ones that we're really capturing is support services and barrier reduction. And it's not going to take that much, to enter this. The big reason, once again, barrier reduction is new, and we want to see what the value added is for that. So if we don't have that information, accessible to us, and we guarantee we're going to be, our administration is going to want to know, what's going on, what kind of barrier reduction services have you been provided, how many people have been helped, what's the value amount that's going on, what's the outcome of that, so those are the questions that we're going to have to answer based upon using barrier reduction money. And we're going to do an evaluation of it too and say, okay, wow, it really had a significant impact, on keeping people in the training program or keeping them employed compared to just doing supportive services. And the other side of it, which you guys are going to love this too, it's going to actually be a really good tool for our monitoring staff.
And the last question we have is, as being a Jted grantee, will we have access to IDES?
That, not necessarily. Now, we are still trying to get so that we can do it like a data share or data dump or something between the two systems so we can, track. But no, that does not guarantee you access to IWDS. I mean, to IDES wage data.
Okay. Is that the last question?
Yep.
If so, we'll pass it on to David, and David will show you.
Hold on real quick.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
done yet.
Oh, sorry.
But here's what I am putting out there, and that David will be able to show you where this is located as well. But some of our next steps, what we need to do is to have you, if you don't already have your Illinois Worknet account, to go up and set up your Illinois Worknet account, because we have to give you access to the tools. So once you go ahead and do that, then you can go ahead and email our info@ email and let us know that you're requesting access to the Jted partner tools. So it's important that you let us know, especially if you don't already have a partner account, that you need to become a partner and have access to those partner tools. So the link to those instructions I just put into the chat, and I'm going to put this as well. So the next part as well, excuse me, is signing up for the small group technical assistance. So one of the things that I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. Just what we have here is the training types. We've set aside some times. So I have category 1, 2, 3, category 4 only, multiple categories 1, 2, and 3. And what we've learned over the years is that we can give you a lot of information in a webinar PowerPoint, but it really has been beneficial to get with like the smaller group technical assistance, with just getting everybody into the system, make sure you can access it, make sure you can access the tools. Those people can access the grantee details, how to, enter your training program information, how to enter the work sites, again, in that small group environment. And so what we'd like to do, you can have more than one person, but what we'd like to do is limit it to 3 different grantees for each of these sessions. And so it's first come, first serve, obviously. So you can see we're going to kick this off right away. So if you're a category 1, please either do it in category 1 or this multiple category sections, and just put in your organization name and the staff person and their email. So once we have people that are signed up for these different small group TA sessions, then we will send you out a meeting invite with, it'll be a Teams invite, so that we can, get together and get all the information entered into the system.
Do we have a Worknet account, and who do we want users to be other than myself and you? Period. I think we only have 3.
3 people?
Did you say we can only have 3?
No, 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 no. You can have as many staff in here as you want. We're trying to limit it to like for these small group technical assistance groups, you know, if I had organization 1, organization, you know, A, organization B, organization C, but you can have as many people in this as you would like. So, yep, so if you could get those in there, and then once we have people signed up, then, like I said, we'll send out a meeting invite for those particular times. Okay, now David. Oh, one person had a question about how do you know your category? So if you're serving people that are, but category 1 is unemployed, adults that are unemployed. Category 2 is adults that are underemployed. Category 3 are youth. Category 4 are those programs that are barrier reduction only.
There will be people that have crossover grants too, though, so they may have 1, 2, and 3. Do you have a specific place you want them?
Wherever. They can, if you had 1, 2, and 3, you could either go in multiple categories, or you could do 1, 2, or 3. I mean, it's the same. The biggest one that's different is the category 4.
Right.
But
okay.
Either way, we just tried to keep like ones together because they might have, you know, similar questions based on their program. So okay, now David, I really will let you have it now. We did have a question, looks like, that came in. Is the Worknet system strictly for programming and financial reporting is done in the GRS system, or do the financial staff need access to Worknet as well?
I can answer that. So the GRS is going to be the financial system where you're going to be reporting your expenditures and requesting cash. What you're going to be doing in Worknet is identifying your costs related to specifically services and barrier reduction. I think you can still put costs in there if they wanted to for training, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Natasha? If they wanted to add those?
Not comfortable talking
for the cost list? Like, I'm sorry. Oh, you mean for training? Is that
Yeah.
say, yeah, I mean, you can, but the only place that we're really expecting people to enter in cost is for the support service and barrier reduction service.
Yes. And there's a way, like if you have it split. So an example is if you're paying barrier reduction, but it's not paying you have an invoice. So from a monitoring perspective, if you have an invoice for something that's paid for like that car repair and it's $750 and you have an invoice number, in there you can do the split payment. So you can split it out between support services and barrier reduction, and you can include that invoice number in there. So it's a good tracking system for like your fiscal office. So they can send you the invoice, or, you know, and say, okay, this is the cost related to this, and then you could put it in the system. Like I said, a lot of this is for evaluation purposes, you know, especially with the new component of barrier reduction.
All right, so now we're going to go over how to access the partner guide for Jted. So first we'll start off by, you know, how to access it. So on Illinois Worknet, what you can do at illinoisworknet.com is you can either go to the partner site directly by just entering /partners in the URL, or by clicking this icon, and that'll take you to the Workforce and Education Partner homepage. And if you scroll down, we've added a square here for Jted. and that will take you to the partner guide homepage. And so we have some description at the top, along with the logo and a link to the customer support center to access the group for Jted. Below this, we have all resources. We will add a link here to access the Jted dashboard directly when you're logged in. If you're not logged in, it'll just prompt you to log in and then redirect you to the dashboard. The full list of resources page, if we open that, that'll open up this, and we have the resources broken out by topic here. And what you can do is whichever topic you're looking for, you can select from the bulleted list here, and it'll send you directly to that section on the page, and where you'll see the topic, instructions, links to the instructions, and if there's any related resources and policies, those will be added here. And we're going to continue to build this out, but you can select other ones. And if you want to go right back to the top, you can just click this link back to top, and it'll take you to the top of the table here. Going back to this page, we have another page for technical assistance, tutorials, and videos. And when we open this up, this will show the upcoming technical assistance webinars. We had that schedule that Natasha just had on her screen, and she entered in the chat. We have that table here with the dates, times, the topic, and the description of those technical assistance sessions, and we'll be adding more for July, as we go through these sessions. And for any archive technical assistance webinars that are recorded, we'll add them here, and you can access those recordings as well. Going back here, we also have a page for partner tool updates, as updates to the Jted tool and customer support center are updated. They'll be added here with the date and a list of those updates. So this will continue to be built out. And then back on the partner guide, we have a button to submit success stories. And below here, we have the procedures manual quick start guide broken out by chapters and subtopics here. And we will be adding downloadable PDFs of each of these chapters in the near future as well. I just want to make sure, but I think that is everything for the partner guide. If you've used, other, you've been a part of other programs with Worknet, you'll see that the partner guide is very similar to the other ones as well. And I don't know if there are any questions.
I haven't seen specific questions on the partner guide, but if you're having trouble accessing the Google Docs, just let us know, and use that calendar to let us know what times, like if you'd like us to pencil you in.
Are there any other questions? If not, it's just, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there's just one that came in. Is there any GRS training that's coming up?
Yes, there will be. So Josh was going to talk about the GRS this afternoon, but he's got an issue, a sick grandmother that's not doing well. So we're going to be rescheduling him, probably not next week, because you guys are going to all be busy with getting your system set up for your data entry, but the week after. And one of the things, David, were you able to get a poll set up for the times?
Yes, let me activate that.
Okay. We are going to have weekly technical assistance call, professional development calls for a period of time until everybody's up and running. And then we probably will break out and do like smaller groups and individual meetings also. One of the things I wanted to find out, which you guys are responding to, awesome. We're looking at either a Tuesday or Thursday from 9:30 to 10:30 when we hold these. So whoever has the most votes wins. And that's when we'll schedule those. And we won't schedule them next week because that is going to be you guys working with getting the system set up. But then the week after, we'll start these calls on a weekly basis. And we'll start with Josh. If he's available, if everything's going okay, we'll start with him on the GRS training. And then from that, the next one will more than likely discuss the manual and go over that. So we'll do group settings for those. But then down the road, we're probably going to try and maybe break you guys out into individual settings. And Monica and Rosa and I, we'll each take a group, and we'll keep you specific. Like if you're doing job seekers, which you try and keep job seekers together. Or if you're doing youth, we'll try and keep, predominantly youth together. Barrier reduction, you guys may not necessarily need something, once a week, once we get you up and running. So that might be something where we touch base with you, just once or twice, and then move you to like maybe once a month if we feel like that you guys are doing fine. So, and it looks like you guys are freaking almost you're dead tie. So this is not helping me. We got Tuesday. Well, we're going to go with Tuesday then, guys.
Thank you.
Afternoon session too. Well, the afternoon session. Well, that's true. We'll put that up in the afternoon. Can you store those and then ask whoever jumps on in the afternoon session?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So, we are going to stop early here. The afternoon session is basically we're going to go over the grant agreement and financial responsibility. And it will be a shorter session, so you're going to have like 2-hour break here if that's okay. We'll come back at 1 o'clock. It will probably, like I said, I think Tamika only takes about an hour, and what we're going to discuss won't take that long either. So 1 to 2, we should be done by no later than 3 for the afternoon session. And once again, we're just going to walk through the grant agreement and things you need to look at with that. We're going to walk through reporting requirements, and then Tamika's going to talk about your financial responsibilities. So unless there's any other questions, we are going to break now and then have whoever needs to be on that call this afternoon on at 1 o'clock.
Hey, Tammy.
Yeah.
Then our coordinator who sent the proposals out today, which category is Rome's Joy Catering?
Rome's Joy Catering, let me take a look here. Sorry, just 1 second. We have got you as category 1, which is a job seeker, and 3, which is youth. And I do need to talk with you. Did you put your contact in the chat? Because I need to make sure that we get this one document from you today.
We've got it. Yeah, we can give it to you.
An email too, please, if I don't have that. And then this afternoon, we're going to we're going through, like Monica and Rosa and I have been kind of tag teaming here, trying to get things done as we're having these calls too. So this afternoon, we can give you a status too of, where we're at as far as, grant agreements that we've received back in, grant agreements that are in the field for signature, and then the ones that are either in legal review or there are 2 that we are having some issues with that are still in program. So, and we'll give you that update. Okay. If no more questions, you guys go have a great lunch or check your emails or whatever you need to do, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock.
Tammy, Rose, this is Hugo from Central State, sir. I have a question since I have you both on.
What was that?
This is Hugo from Central State, sir. I have a quick question if I can pick your brain.
Yeah, that'd be fine. What's that?
Oh, great. I wanted to ask, in regards to the authorized signatures, am I able to go ahead and update and add some additional authorized signatures on there just as we're getting everything squared away with the budget?
Yes, yeah. So that's going to be under Exhibit D. On the budget, authorized signature needs to sign that front page, which I think is the second or third page of the grant agreement. And then there's an Exhibit D that gives you space for the author to add authorized signatures. I think there's two lines there for authorized signatures, and if you need to add more than that, you could just let us know. But the authorized signature needs to sign that too. So whoever you're adding, if you're adding, somebody, Joe, whatever, he needs to sign, and the authorized signature needs to sign right under him.
Yeah, I was looking at some additional personnel just to include in some fiscal people, as they will probably need to sign off on some reporting.
Yep, you do that in Exhibit D on the grant agreement.
Okay, great.
And like I said, remember to include the 2 signatures for your CFO and CEO on the budget, on the page 3 of the budget.
I'll repeat that last part.
On the budget, on page 3 of the budget, we need the signature for the CEO and the CFO, or equivalency.
Confirmed. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for the question. Okay, well, we'll let you guys go, and then we'll be
Andy,
seeing
I have
whoever.
a question. I'm sorry.
Go
It's
ahead.
Sherry from the YWCA. Did you make a distinguishment on who should be on the call at 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock should be probably your financial people that are, managing the grant would be part of who I would, encourage to be on the call.
Okay. All right.
We're going to
great.
go over the grant agreement itself, and we kind of talked about case notes. I had case notes there, but we won't worry about it. And we also talked about, exiting, closing out. So we're just going to probably cover the financial agreement, and then Tamika will go over your financial responsibilities.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, we will let you guys go, and we'll see whoever's going to be on at 1. Just make sure you have representation from your organization at 1 o'clock too.
Thank you. Have a great day.